The night was cold and damp. Fog drifted slowly through the streets of Chicago, hiding old brick buildings and the occasional street lamp in its gray veil. It was October 1930, a time when the Great Depression forced people to seize any opportunity to earn money, while crime grew faster than the city's skyscrapers. On the outskirts of the city, near a railway line, stood the Golden Vine Company winery. Officially, it produced grape juice and wine products for medical purposes. Unofficially, everyone knew that thousands of bottles of expensive wine passed through its warehouses before finding their way into the finest speakeasies across the Midwest. The clock on City Hall struck midnight. The winery's watchman, an elderly Irishman named Thomas O'Brien, was making his rounds with a kerosene lantern. He stopped near warehouse number 3 and lit a cigarette. At that moment, a shadow moved beyond the tall fence. Then another. And another. 4 men in dark overcoats silently climbed over the barrier. Their leader was Victor the Fox Morelli, a notorious safecracker in criminal circles. Tall and thin, with a sharp jawline and cold eyes, he was famous for never leaving witnesses behind. Fast and quiet, he whispered. His men nodded. One pulled out wire cutters and severed the telephone line. Another headed toward the electrical panel. Seconds later, half the property was swallowed by darkness. Thomas frowned. What the hell? He took a few steps toward the warehouse. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows. A blow. The watchman collapsed unconscious onto the ground. The criminals worked with precision. They knew the layout of the buildings, the guard schedules, and even the warehouse lock codes. Someone on the inside had helped them. 15 minutes later, the warehouse doors rolled open. 2 trucks emerged from the darkness. Masked men began loading wooden crates filled with rare French and Italian wines. Each crate was worth a fortune. 20 minutes and we're rich, one of the robbers grinned. But Victor didn't smile. He sensed danger. Everything was going too smoothly. As the final truck prepared to leave the property, the sound of an engine echoed in the distance. Headlights. A police car. Damn it, hissed one of the gang members. Victor simply raised his hand. Stay calm. Plan B. Rifles were pulled from the truck. The officers had barely come to a stop when gunfire erupted. The silence of the night exploded with shots. Officer James Walker barely managed to duck. A bullet shattered the windshield of the patrol car. Ambush, his partner shouted. A fierce gunfight broke out. While the police scrambled for cover behind their vehicle, the truck sped onto the highway and vanished into the thick fog. By morning, the entire city was talking about only one thing. The largest winery robbery in years. The atmosphere inside police headquarters was tense. Police Chief William Harris stood by the window watching the rain. A folder containing photographs of the crime scene lay on his desk. The losses were estimated at nearly $100,000, an enormous sum in those days. The office door opened. Detective Samuel Cross entered. A tall man in his 40s with tired eyes and a wrinkled trench coat. He was considered the best investigator in the city. You wanted to see me? He asked. Harris tossed the folder onto the desk. It's yours. Cross quickly flipped through the documents. 4 or 5 men. Professionals. Exactly. Inside help? Most likely. Any witnesses? None. Cross lit a cigarette. Then we'll have to find the man who knows too much. The chief looked at him seriously. Sam. Yes? If Morelli is behind this, the whole city could end up in his hands. Cross slowly exhaled smoke. He had heard Victor Morelli's name before. For years, the criminal had disappeared after every major robbery. No one could prove his guilt. No one could catch him. But this time was different. Because Morelli had made a mistake. And Detective Cross intended to find it. Meanwhile, in an abandoned warehouse by the river, Victor Morelli opened one of the stolen crates. For the first time that night, a smile appeared on his face. But it vanished a second later. Inside were not bottles of wine. Instead, there were neatly packed bundles of documents. Someone had switched the cargo before the robbery. And now the hunt was beginning, not just for the police. Someone was hunting Victor Morelli as well.